Hey everyone, Rho here. A little step away from the lore today, as over the last week or so there's been some very interesting reveals and news. We've obviously been getting the big reveals on the upcoming Blood Angels release, but there's also been some big drops regarding the Leagues of Votann, with their first ever novel on the way, and a new edition of Middle-earth announced as well, which I'm pretty interested in. So, seeing as I haven't had a chance to discuss it all any earlier, we're going to jump in today. As always, all the information we need to see is over on the Warhammer community website, so make sure to head over there for yourself to check out the news if you haven't already. We'll begin with the two Blood Angels announcements so far. The first one we received was at the beginning of last week. And this was the big one. The army box dropping with the new codex, which has definitely become the trend in this current edition, which I guess if you're new to the faction is a pretty good starting point. I've got to say I absolutely love the box art on this one. There's just something so iconic about the Death Company. I've adored them since 2nd edition, the old school Angels of Death codex. I had Ultramarines and my next door neighbour had the Blood Angels, and his dad painted him the Death Company unit, and they were just so good. I spent my childhood just in awe of his Death Company. And okay, this doesn't quite have that nostalgia of course, but there's still that bit of an aura. The black and the red crosses, it's just iconic. Now the first new character, Lematis. I wasn't too sure what to make of him first, to be honest, but the more I've seen him over the past few days, the more and more I've just fallen in love with this model. His old sculpt almost had a bit of regalness about him, in the pose at least. However, this update embodies the rage, and I think that's what Lematis should do. The skull helm itself seeming to yell in fury, the arms outstretched to the side. It's almost reminiscent of the classic Wolverine pose in a way. And yes, I've got that on the mind because the latest movie just coming out. But it's a different one here, as a lot of the new sculpts have done great jobs of bringing the flow of movement into the model, the feel of the action of wind whistling through. And you don't get that here. It's a very static pose, a moment in time, but I really think it works. Again, it feels to me as if Lematis is bellowing his fury at the enemy, on the cusp of launching forward, and I really like this update. Almost makes me regret going Crimson Fists for my new army project and not the Blood Angels. But I really need to get the practice in before I can tackle them. But it's definitely a project for the future, especially with this kind of update coming out. Next we have the new Asterath, and this one feels much more similar to his older model. The same classic pose, the axe raised about to strike, the same eerie pale face, yet it's all just updated with that little bit more movement and grace. The 1 foot raised off the rock, the parchments flowing off of his hip, and the wings seem like they have that little bit extra bit of menace about them. Maybe they don't, maybe it's all in my imagination, but it feels that way. The little curve downward at the top of the wing. Again, it's a much more similar update this one, so not as much to say about it, but it works. I like it. It doesn't strike me as much as Lematis, that's for sure, but it's great to have an updated Asterath. It always really bugs me when you don't have updated characters to accompany your army. The scale difference now between the old and the new is really obvious. So it's great the Angels have got most of their main characters updated now. We'll have to see if there's any more on the way for the final few, Tycho and Corbulo. Although Tycho is technically dead, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But still, I'd love to see an update though. Now, next we have a glimpse of the Death Company Intercessors, which is a new Blood Angels upgrade sprue. I'm a little disappointed there's not a full-on dedicated unit with all the extra torsos etc. the Blood Angels are renowned for. But I get it, I understand why the upgrade sprue was the way to go. It offers a lot more flexibility. You can use it for any Blood Angels unit, and even a lot of the parts for successor chapters. So again, I understand the logic. I think the most noticeable upgrade for me, rather than the little trinkets and insignias, are these new head sculpts. You can feel the vampire-esque fury and nature in them now. They look the essence of the Sons of Sanguinius they are. Now, unfortunately for me, I generally prefer all my Marines to have their helms on, but I can definitely appreciate the details in the sculpts here. And just a better look at all the pieces you get on the sprue. A couple of Terminator pieces too, which is nice to see. I'm still crossing my fingers for a Terminator Assault Squad update, but it doesn't look like we're going to be getting it here with the Blood Angels. And then lastly, the Brutalis Dreadnought, painted in Death Company scheme. Hats off to the painter here for the job because it's absolutely stunning. I mean, look at the detailing on that power claw, the edge highlighting on the armour. Phew, I've got a long way to go, there's no doubt about that. Nothing new technically here, but it's beautiful to see it painted up in Death Company scheme at least. We then got our next Blood Angels drop earlier this week with the new Sanguinary Priest. And this is another absolute win for me here. This guy looks beautiful. Honestly, I would have been happy if this was Corbulo. I think this is an absolutely fantastic sculpt. I know it's largely an apothecary, nothing outlandish, but the little added elements of Blood Angels imagery really makes it feel like a proper Sanguinary Priest. The emblem on the leg, the chalice hanging down, the vials of blood, and the fantastic head sculpt. Really, really good. And it gets even better when you scroll down for me, because the head sculpt with the chin strap thing looks even more like the prototypical Son of Sanguinius here. The slightly longer flowing blonde hair. Again, another absolute win. It's a small release, technically just an apothecary. Seemingly unimportant maybe to most people, but it's the small part of the army that makes a Blood Angels army a Blood Angels army. If you know what I mean. That separates him over just an apothecary model being included. This guy is right up there with Lamarty's for my favourite. Doesn't quite reach the same level, but he's definitely up there. Now, next we have the new Captain model. Here we get the classic sculpted Blood Angels armour they're famous for, and the optional pose with the gun out or up. I'll tell you now, I absolutely love the golden painted armour in helm here. Maybe for the Dante or Tycho flavour, I don't know, but I just love seeing the captains painted in the golden armour. And that helm is a definite winner, though you do get strong Dante vibes with it. We get a return of the flowing movement and wind here, with the cape billowing out and the robes flowing in the same direction, working with the face and arm out into the wind. Another quality update. All in all, really fleshing out the Primaris scale Blood Angels. Again, they feel like a Blood Angels army now. I'm still hoping to see a Sanguinary Guard update revealed too, as that is my number one on the wish list. But I guess that's just more hope now than anything else. Maybe we'll see it over the next week or so, maybe we won't. Even if it doesn't come, I can't really complain about the updates we've received, because it is a fair bit. 2 characters, a captain, a Sanguinary Priest, and a new upgrade sprue, and an army box set. That's a lot more than some other factions have received, there's no doubt about it. Now, moving on, Blood Angels aside, maybe the news that got me most excited. or okay, equally as excited as the new Blood Angels, was the reveal a couple of days ago that the Leagues of Votann are finally getting their first ever novel. This is one I've been waiting for a long time, but it's finally here, and I am very excited to dive in, so we can really begin to see and feel what the Votann are like, endear and bond us with the faction some more. I love the dwarfs from the old world, I always have, so I've really wanted to get into the Leagues of Votann, but I just wanted to know more about them, more about their character. The Codex gave us a taste of flavour, but it didn't really give us that much. This is the first step towards that, so it's a definite step in the right direction. Now, this little reveal doesn't tell us a great deal, but it teases that Hernkin prospect leader Mirton Damagot is a member of the kindred of the Eternal Starforge, and flourishing in this new age of conflict between the kin and the Imperium, exploiting battles for great personal gain. When a messenger sent from her kindred's holdship upends her freewheeling life, she and her companions are thrust into a dangerous venture with high stakes, but a magnificent prize if they succeed. Again, not a lot, and there is an excerpt you can read further down below, but the tease of conflict between the kin and the Imperium is definitely intriguing. I'm very interested in seeing just how the two factions are interacting with each other. The difference between the kin interacting or fighting against the Mechanicus and the standard Imperium. Do they see a difference between the two or not? Hopefully it can give answers to some of the questions we have, and really introduce us to the nature of the Leagues of Votann. But then moving on, lastly, just the announcement of a new edition of Middle-earth strategy battle game coming soon, and the tease of something to do with the War of the Rohirrim. I've been wanting to play through the Quest of the Ringbearer with my friend for a while now, or at least some of it, but I just need to get some more terrain and models, particularly the Nazgul. So I'm definitely interested to see what's going to happen here with the new edition. Again, it's just an announcement, so there's not much to discuss, but it looks like there's definitely big things on the horizon for Middle-earth to come, so I thought it was worth a mention. But all in all, that's it. Pretty much covers my thoughts on all the big reveals from the past few days. I've got my fingers crossed for a Sanguinary Guard drop to accompany what we've seen so far, but I really don't know if it's likely or not. Out of what we've seen so far, Lamartes is definitely the winner for me, closely followed by the Sanguinary Priest. And I am very, very happy the Leagues of Votann are getting a novel. I'll be looking forward to dive into that. But as always everyone, what do you think? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.